What's in your wallet?
I'm so old.
I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5 explosive hot dog carts.
Ritualistic blood magic.
Laser shooting chesty statues.
Don't watch movies unless we tell you to. Welcome to Movies with My Best Friend Phil, a movie podcast where we try and find out why Will loves Mark Wahlberg. I'm your host, Phil Kessel. I'm joined, as always, by some of my very best friends. First off is one of the funniest guys I know in the whole world, Will Chodas.
Hey, Phil, I'm really worried about what you just said there.
Yep, me too.
What do you mean?
A little worried. A little
What do you
worried
mean?
that you didn't understand the assignment. It's fine. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Anyways, we are also joined by one of my oldest best friends in the whole world, one of the best guys I know, Craig Norland.
Hey, Phil.
Hey.
That's all I got.
Guys,
Mhm.
guys, what is up? What is happening?
You know, not much. I came back. I went on vacation. You know,
Tell me everything.
You guys ever do that thing that they call vacation?
It's been a while.
The vacation when it's not a vacation. It's
Yeah.
just parenting at another place.
Yeah, to me, it's parenting with less resources. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, and then
Yep.
also like we went to an Airbnb. This one was a lot nicer than the last one I went to, because my parents paid for it.
Did it say it? Did it alert you that it was cabin time?
It did not. I was actually looking for the cabin signs, and I found one that said something like "Life by the lake is grand," and it was the only one. So I was like, fair. You know, I'm not mad at this one. It also was one of those places where they clearly like it was like a new reno or like a place that they redid with Airbnbs in mind, because there were power outlets every 3 feet. It was like it's such there's so much convenience in the way it was set up. It was crazy. And every room had one of those Roku televisions in it for whatever reason.
Yep.
But no, we went with my parents. We just went to Grand Haven, which is where we went last year. And it was
Yeah,
it
we
was
love
nice.
Grand Haven.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's just like funny going on vacation versus when we used to go on vacation. You're like, what are we gonna do today? You know what I mean? And like, let's explore something. Let's go find a new restaurant. Let's taste the local microbreweries. Let's go down to the beach. Let's put our feet in the sand. You know what I mean? But then when you go with little kids, it's just like, get out of the sand. Get out of the sand. You know, you can't go in there. Get out of the road. No toys. We're not going shopping. They don't sell toys in this entire city, weirdly enough. There aren't any. You know what I mean? No, actually, you know what? They closed the city down. We have to stay in the house all day today. Sorry, guys. No exploring for us. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So it's a little different. It's just like, but the thing that is great, that's fun about vacationing, is that nobody gets concerned by my day drinking. So,
Yes.
you know, it's
Crack open a beer as early as you want.
yeah, 9:30.
People are like, that guy knows how to vacation.
Yeah.
That guy knows how to relax.
Yeah, that guy is still drunk from yesterday. No, I went to bed at 9.
Oh my God, my coworker, I was just talking to him yesterday. He was like, I got up and I did like a big stretch, and he's like, oh, you tired? And I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, you up late? I was like, no. He's like, oh man, I was up till like 3 a.m. I was like, yeah. I went to bed at like 9:30 and I slept for like 7 hours and I woke up tired. And he was like, oh, I went to bed at like 3 something and I woke up at like 6:30. Oh, I'm just like a little bit tired. And I was like, I hate you so much. You 20-something-year-old bastard.
Yeah, I just like punish myself every day. I'm like, I could go to sleep, or I could stay up watching this YouTube channel that I don't like. until
Yes.
12:30, and then wake up at 6 and make a bunch of lunches for children who don't like them.
Is it the YouTube channel with people dressed up as Spider-Man and the Hulk? And Spider-Man and the Hulk have like a baby together, and it's Elsa or something.
Yeah, those
No, I think
those are real weird.
No,
I'm glad Craig knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. Unfortunately,
Those make me so uncomfortable.
that's why we got rid of the kids' access to YouTube, because they'd be watching something normal, and I say that like normal, and then all of a sudden I turn around and they're watching some Russian kids unboxing toys and stuff like that. I'm like, what's happening here?
Yeah, there's a lot of
YouTube
weird,
algorithms,
like,
man.
you've found. I think you might have found the same Russian oligarchs that my kids watched for like a hot second.
Nikki and Vlad is what it's
yes, yeah, yep. There's like a lot of weird stuff like that, and then the other thing that's just weird is, for whatever reason, when you turn TV off for Jack, he may complain and be like, "Oh, I don't want it." You know what I mean? Typical boy, like not boy, little kid whining. But when we turn YouTube off, he reacts like an addict would if they had their like drugs taken away. He just loses his mind. There is something about there's something about the way YouTube just the most addictive thing always rises to the top on YouTube. You know, like it's always the thing that gets the dopamine the highest, you know, and it's worse for little kids. That like when you shut it off, and then the whole video is just like a train, like a CGI train that's pink, drives and like falls into a ball of pink balls, and a lady just goes, "Pink."
Oh,
And then
I've
the
seen
next-
those.
And then the next thing is a brown train, and it does the exact same thing and falls into a balls of, and then brown. And
Yeah,
it's
okay,
just-
you haven't seen the cow ones, have you? Where the cows turn different colors and then they like produce milk that's
No.
purple and pink and brown, and it's disgusting.
no. I Caitlin and I just like kind of looked at each other one day, and we're just like, so never again, right? So like never again. Like the YouTube is just done.
YouTube's
And then
broken.
yeah, and then we found he used to watch it on the iPad, and now the only thing he's allowed to play is the PBS app, which has tons of free games, and there's no way for him to accidentally buy the extended package to anything because it's all free, and there are no ads.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, and it's mostly Wildcat stuff, which he loves.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Classic PBS, doing it right.
yeah, always, man.
Fucking out here slinging it for years. Winning the game. Probably not winning the game, unfortunately. They're actually probably losing the game.
Yeah, they are. It's interesting you mention that, because like PBS is always saying, like, you know, brought to you by viewers like you, and one of the biggest ways that they mean that is not that people are walking up to the PBS station and getting handed a camera and asked to being made content. Is actually, and this is a common misconception. People are like, why am I making the things? No, you're not actually making them. They need your donations, you know. So they need your money. So it's brought to you by you, viewers like you, the donors. And a lot of people pay, and so, and a lot of ways that people pay is that they find something in their pockets, and I cannot remember what it's called. It's like kind of rectangly shaped. It has a lot of different purposes, and it holds a lot of different things.
Brown.
No, mine's blue.
Purple.
Blue.
Oh, a phone. That's it. They pay using their phone.
Wallet.
That's right. It's time for the segment where we reach deep into our best friend's pants and pull out some recommendations. It's What's in Your Wallet? All right, Craig, what's in your wallet?
Was that our worst one yet?
They're
wasn't
all
good.
bad. What's good? What's good anymore? Nothing.
Oh, man.
My
Not
life
this
is
show.
pain. Okay, so I'm gonna do a quick, just rapid fire, um, all media things that
Whoa.
I've been consuming.
Everyone get ready. This is a historic event. Craig has more than one.
Okay, uh, so Batman Caped Crusader is on Amazon
Ooh.
Prime, and Bruce Timm is the producer. He was the producer on Batman the Animated Series. I've
Nice.
only watched 2 episodes, but the second episode was a Clayface episode, but it's on the original Clayface Basil Karlo, who was more of like the classically trained actor, like a Boris
Mhm.
Karloff. Uh, one of my favorite episodes of anything Batman. So
Ooh.
that should tell you right off the bat, like it captured those 30s pulp vibes that they were trying to get in like The Shadow and all those other Dark Man, those kind of movies
Yeah.
in the 90s. So that's really great. Um, and then, so that's my TV show.
Oh wow.
My movie is Alien Romulus.
You saw it.
I did. I saw it opening night. Did either of
Okay.
you see this?
No.
Okay. So, what I will say is don't like look anything else up about it just because some of it's already been spoiled. So, try to go in as blind as possible. It's
If I
got
go in blind, how am I going to watch the movie, Craig?
like just stab your eyes out.
Okay.
It is not a perfect movie at all, but when it does, like one of the characters, is one of my favorites in all of Alien movies. When it does things well, it really does them well, and when they don't do it well, they really just shit the bed.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a roller coaster, but I
Okay,
feel
where are you putting it between 1, 2, 3, and 4?
I mean, I like it better than 3 because 3 is just too depressing.
Fair.
3's got some interesting set pieces, and I think it's more philosophical than the other ones. But 4 I think I like it more than 4 just because I like the characters in Romulus more. But 4 has it has similarities. Like they really took the DNA from every single Alien movie and put it into this one, for better or
Okay.
worse. So,
Okay.
definitely recommend seeing it, especially if you really like the Alien series.
Mhm.
Fede Alvarez was the director. He also did the Evil Dead remake, which was surprisingly good. And he also did Don't Breathe, which I have not seen. Video games. I just finished Spider-Man 2, and
Nice.
that is excellent, as you would assume if you played any other Spider-Man games. So please check that out.
How similar or samey is it, or to the other Spider-Mans? Does it feel like it's like more of it, or is it
The nice thing about it is, because I was afraid of that too, but the kind of missions that it not makes you, but that you can do, there's a lot of villains in it. Not villaining all the time, but it really does feel like you're seeing a lot of the second tier characters in there,
Oh, cool.
not just the main people. And then I don't think it's a secret that Venom plays a really large part in it, and so that creates a lot more powers that you can have. The story is really interesting, and it delves deeper into the relationship between Mary Jane and Peter Parker and Harry Osborn. So I think, I like it as much as the other ones.
Cool.
Miles is great character still. And then the one I didn't expect is my music one. And this happened because of Reels. I unironically like listening to. I hope I'm saying this right. Chapel Rowan.
Chapel Roan fucking rules.
I know.
My
I was like, oh no, am I allowed to like this? I'm
It's
not
banger
Gen Z.
after banger.
I know.
my son the other day when we were at his grandfather's funeral, his great grandfather's funeral.
You
Caitlin's
guys
grandpa
played
died.
Pink Pony Club for him.
Was walking around going HOTTOTO. You can take me hot to go. And Caitlin just was like, this is your fault. This is your fault to Caitlin. Because it is.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, what song do you like the most, Craig?
I think I like. Oh gosh, I like the first one I had listened to was Pink Pony Club, and I like that one a lot. But I think I really, really love Good Luck Babe.
Mm.
That was the first one I heard.
Yeah,
That was when Joe was on. She had recommended Chapel Roan, and that was the
Okay.
first. That was the only song I had heard at that time, and I was like, oh, I should listen to more of it. And yeah, it's just banger after banger. She's got a Tiny Desk concert that is really good.
Well, as soon as I was listening, I watched the music video, and I was like, this seems something that Caitlin would really like. And that was just an assumption, but I guess it turned out to be true.
Oh yeah, she's been listening to it constantly, and she's just she's like, I can't stop listening to it. I've never had I feel like it's been a long time since she's had like an album or a band or an individual whatever just bore its way so quickly and take roost in her brain.
It's so interesting because she did, not that she wasn't making music for a long time before she blew up, but she blew up really quickly. We've seen people go viral, but she went from making YouTube videos to playing at Coachella in less than a summer.
Yeah.
And that is fucking wild to me.
Yeah. I do also like that she is going on places like Instagram and TikTok and just being like, hey, everyone needs to calm down and stop harassing my families. And also and then she's also saying something that I've agreed with for a very long time, which is her going just stop coming up to me and trying to get me to take pictures with you when I'm at Starbucks. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, don't normalize that. We have normalized doing that to celebrities for so long, and it's one thing to do it when they're at an event or you know what I mean, or whatever. It's another thing to do it when they're just walking around, And I don't know. I think it's good to, and a lot of people are like, that's the job you want it. I hate it when people are like that, when they're like, I have every right to abuse you because you signed up for something where people are normally abused. And it's actually, that's not true.
Yeah, she's doing such a good job of calling that out for what it is, which is she's compared it to the argument of oh, well, did you see what they were wearing?
Yeah, it's exactly all of that crap. It's all these people who feel entitled to their opinion in a way that is beyond just saying I enjoy this, or they're saying it's actually mine. Do you know what I mean? People will do, and it's more understandable, and I'm more forgiving when people are talking a movie or Star Wars, when they're Star Wars belongs to the fans. I'm like, okay, I can see your argument, but when you're that human being belongs to me, I'm like, well, no.
Right.
Because I do believe that to a certain extent, when you make something, it's no longer yours.
The art, sure.
Exactly.
The artist,
is no longer. The artist. No. Yeah. So yeah, so like that's I'm running into something interesting like that with like a comment section where it's like,
oh yeah,
how do I deal with a comment section? Because like people are making comments and some of them are mean.
oh yeah, they are.
And I'm like, like what do I do? Because like I will respond to as many things as I can because I kind of like to. But when it's mean, I'm mean back. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So if you say something mean to me, I'm gonna say something mean back to you, and then everyone then it's like, well, you can't do that. You're a, and I'm like, actually, whatever you're about to say, I'm certainly not, because I'm actually like, you know what I mean? I'm not like Chapel Roan. I'm not like a big anything. I'm just some guy on the internet, and you just said something crappy. I also love when people are like, are you just trolling through the comments looking for? And I'm like, it's my video. Instagram sends me, lets me know when you comment. Every time I open Instagram, it says you have 6 new comments. It's not like I go into my own videos and look through the comments and find people to be mean to or whatever. Like, I open it up, and the first thing I see is, you're a soy boy beta this or that. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to just let that happen.
I sometimes open it up and go to your videos and find people to be mean to.
Yeah, see, that's different, and which I appreciate. Actually, that is one of my favorite things, is when I go to the when I people defend me. That's like one of the best feelings. It's like when people are like, you're saying all this mean stuff, and then someone's like, you miss the point of this completely, you stupid person, or whatever.
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh, thank God. Because for a second I was about to hang it all up, but this one guy gets it. Somebody gets it. I'm doing this forever.
Yes. Absolutely.
Anywho, sorry, Craig, was that your last one?
Chapel Roan.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, okay. Phil, what you got in your wallet?
Well, it's nothing as flashy and bombastic as Chapel Roan, but I watched a movie recently and it was rad as heck. You guys know I like westerns. It's no surprise. There's a western on Netflix called The Harder They Fall, and it is a very cool western. It does have Jonathan Majors in it, but it has a bunch of other people in it who are cool. It's like big thing about it is that it is a bunch of historical black figures, like actual black people from history that are in this movie as characters. It is a really cool movie. The style in it, it's got a little bit of spaghetti western. It's got a little bit of modern western in it, a little bit of Tarantino. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going for this movie. It's very cool. It's very fun.
Let me guess. The white people are the bad guys.
Actually, no. Because there's almost 0 white people in this movie. I think there might be one. And that might be the best thing about the movie. Because, most westerns, it's the exact opposite.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's horribly unrealistic. Many cowboys historically were black or Mexican. That was the actual job of cowboy. Ranch hand was not really a job that was held by the elites of the time, the sort of upper class people. So to have a western that is almost entirely white, you know what? I take that back. There are a ton of white people in this movie. There's a town that they go to at one point where everyone in it is white and everything is painted white.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's so good. It's a great movie. The music's really cool. It'll go from modern music behind a scene to more of a standard western soundtrack, and it does it really well. I would say highlight performance, unfortunately, would be Jonathan Majors.
Mm-hmm.
I hate so much that he's such a good actor. I like him so much as an actor. But But Regina King is in this, and she is fantastic in it. Zazie Beetz is in it. She's great. Idris Elba is not in it as much as I wanted. He's in it, and he's great. But I wanted him to be, like, huge in it, and he's not huge in it. He plays an integral part. He's just not, like, the biggest part. But it's fine. But definitely, like, if you've got a hankering for a Western, give that one a shot. It is.
What was
I
it
had
called
a great
again?
time with it.
Is it The
Harder They Fall?
Okay, yeah.
They do. I think they are planning on making a prequel. That was, I think, before all the stuff was coming out about Jonathan Majors, though. So I don't know if that has ruined that or just
probably
changed the direction. Because they could still make it without him. The movie, this specific movie, would not have worked without him, but they could have made a movie without him. The rest of the cast was also awesome. They also had, and I loved it, character I did not know of, was an actual historical figure named Cathay Williams, who was an American soldier, and this is from her Wikipedia entry. Williams became the first female to enlist in the United States Army, and the only documented woman to serve in the U.S. Army while posing as a man.
Huh. Mulan.
So there's a character that is, for most of the movie, dressed more in men's more in like masculine clothing, like pants and a shirt. Her hair is buzz cut. She goes by Cuffy. And then at one point, she has to wear a dress, and it's like funny because she hates it and she can't walk around in it, and it's funny. And then I looked up the character, and then it was this, and it was like it was just really good. I feel like I rambled a lot. I was really excited. It was a really good movie.
Yeah, no.
It was good. It was good.
How'd you watch it?
It's on Netflix.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, it's a Netflix original.
I really wish that Netflix was better about releasing their stuff on physical. And I understand why they wouldn't want to, but there's
Which is funny because they got started.
It's like their original programming in their movies is literally all they have going for them to get people on the platform.
Yeah.
I'm sure they still have a huge library of other movies and stuff, but like they've been hemorrhaging that since, I don't know, what was the first competing one? Hulu, I suppose, came out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
No, they just added a bunch of AMC stuff, and they've been adding a ton of non-English stuff recently. I started a Colombian show that looks like it's going to be True Detective, but in Colombia and more explicitly supernatural, which is pretty cool so far.
Yeah. Craig, you about to say something? No.
Oh, no, it wasn't really important, but I was just going to mention that the only movies that do get releases from Netflix are Criterion. So, like, they just released Pinocchio, the Guillermo del Toro, couple other ones.
Was that Pinocchio one in theaters?
Roma.
It wasn't? Or was it?
No, that was just Netflix.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah. Roma. Gosh, there's another one I'm forgetting that I really liked. Oh, like Buster Scruggs. Like, that really bothers me that I can't, like, I want to have all the Coen Brothers movies and I just can't.
Oh,
because it's stuck on Netflix forever.
Yeah, that's weird.
Also weird because that's how they started, right? Is like as a mail service of DVDs.
Yeah.
So like,
but I mean, it's one thing to like buy existing DVDs of movies. It's another to like manufacture your own DVDs.
Yeah. What are they afraid of it though?
Yes.
What are you afraid of it, Netflix?
Yes. Because of the money. The cost. Yeah. And all of these streaming services are so funny to me because they are all standing around going like, are you guys making money? No, you're not making. Are you making money? Kind of? You're kind of making money. because we're not making any money. What are we doing wrong exactly? It's just, yeah, because you like hear about that with Disney. Disney's like, we bought Star Wars and Marvel, and we're gonna make so much money. We're not making any money. We keep making movies and shows that nobody likes. I don't understand. Anyways,
Oh boy.
so
All right, Will, what you got?
so oh boy, my life is I'm in a repeat mode. Everything
Listen, I
is
could go again.
No, I don't want
Okay.
you to. I'm just saying that there's nothing like really. I am currently playing Vampire Survivors and listening to the Glass Cannon podcast. Two
Yes.
things I've already recommended, and I'm basically reliving my life 6 or 7 months ago. But I do have another recommendation. It's more of a. This is more of a Phil recommendation.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I am
Yes.
going to recommend drawing.
Yes.
I recently got back into drawing.
And I love it.
As a kid, I was a doodler. That's how I paid attention in class. I was always doodling in the corner and listening with my ears. You know what I mean? So I've always been podcasting while playing video games. Like that has always been where I'm at. I grew up watching cartoons and drawing a bunch. And it's funny, I had such like a weird sort of hang up. Like maybe it was because we were where we went to school, where we were raised, the three of us going to Livingston County in Michigan here, a little conservative section of the state. But like I had like this weird sense that like artists, you were either a brilliant artist and everyone praised you and you could just do magic, or you should just give up on it altogether. You know what I mean? And so like I always had that running in the back of my brain when I was drawing, and I would look at what someone else is doing and going like, well, I can never do this as a living because that person is moderately better than me. Like I remember Ryan Isepi was a friend of mine, friend of ours, Phil and I's, in high school, and he would like, the way he drew was amazing and still is, where he'd just like start on the corner of like a picture with someone's hand and just do all, like he wouldn't sketch out everything, he wouldn't map it out, he would start the whole thing with detail and just like slowly but surely build out the character.
Yeah.
And it was like, to watching it was just like, how the hell did your brain know what to do next? You know? And then my little
That's
brother
crazy.
was an incredible mimic when it came to drawing. So like he could look at a picture of like Goku and draw Goku like exactly right. And I was terrible at that. I'd always draw it and I'd be like, this is the goofiest looking Goku I've ever seen. But I could always draw my own stuff, Like I was good at coming up with my own designs and being like, this is my style. I'm sticking to this, But then people would be like, draw Bambi. I'm like, okay. And I'd draw Bambi and they'd be like, what the hell is this? And I'd be like, I don't know. So anyways, long story short, fast forward 20 years later or so, I start taking guitar lessons, and my guitar teacher, I start playing guitar, and I put my thumb up on the neck to hit the E chord, right? Or the E string, which is something that they tell you not to do when you're playing guitar. And I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to do that. And my guitar teacher was just like, why? And I'm like, well, they say not to put your thumb up there because that's not proper. He's like, who cares? And he like pointed to a picture of Jimi Hendrix, a poster he
like
had, who had Jimi Hendrix putting his thumb on on his left-handed guitar. And he's like, as long as it sounds good, who cares how you do it? Cheat as much as you want. Just make it sound and look good. And that sort of broke something in me. You know what I mean? Because I was like, oh, right. It doesn't matter how you get there. Not necessarily, you know what I mean? Like, so.
Yeah.
And then fast forward a couple more years, and I bought a set of pens, and I've never actually had a good set of like pens and markers and ink markers. Like, and these are still relatively cheap, but like they're Leto. It's a Japanese company.
But they're like better than like your standard.
Well, they're
Bic
ink
ballpoint pen.
They're not ballpoint. None of them are ballpoint.
Yeah.
They're like actually like small markers. They're more of that, and like, and they're different thickness and different shapes. And it just like suddenly you sketch, and like I've never used to do the whole like, I don't know if you've ever there's always like that thing where it's like how to draw a turtle, and then it's like draw a circle, cross hatch the circle, draw the rest of the turtle,
Yeah.
And I never understood how to do any of that. And then for whatever reason, I was on looking at reels on Instagram. I follow a couple artists, and I suddenly like understood what they were doing, and I was just like, oh yeah, you do this because it's cheating, not cheating, but you're basically setting up a guide, and you try 100 times. You just keep sketching until it looks right. It doesn't matter if you did it in one stroke. You do it with a pencil, of course, and then like until it finally looks the way you want it to look, and then you erase all the bits that don't work, and then you trace your own picture. And it was just, I don't know. So anyways, my recommendation is like make something, make some art, do something,
Hell yeah.
Because I have been resisting doing art for like years just because I'm afraid it's going to be a waste of time. No one's going to care. And it's like, all of that might be true, but also like, we were put on this earth to, fart around, or whatever the Kurt Vonnegut quote is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, whatever.
If it makes you happy.
Yeah, a little bit of that, a little bit of like, yeah, and I realized the one thing that I am really good at drawing is gross versions of things.
Yeah, I really,
like Pokemon.
truly, I was telling Jack yesterday, you do those, and you do the gross versions of like what's underneath a Pokemon's shell or whatever.
Yeah.
And you'll send them to me and Craig beforehand. And I love that I get a sneak peek of like this
horror.
disgusting thing.
Yeah.
And then I get to see it again online. And I get to imagine everyone's reaction to seeing that because I already got to have the reaction to seeing that.
Yeah.
Because it's horrifying and
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah, it's something I'm like, that's the other thing I realized is like, if it doesn't look good, if you just keep making little small shapes, eventually you'll create texture, which is something I never ever really did before until I got these pens, because like when you draw with pencil, you sort of it's very one note, you can't like, so, which is what I used to always draw with. So it's like if you just keep like making scribbles, eventually it sort of looks like, oh, this looks like scales, and I'm like, well, if I highlight every other, like I put little shadows every other one, now it looks like uneven, kind of bumpy, gross scales. I'm like, oh, and every once in a while I'll be like, I hate the way this looks. I know what I'll do. I'll cover it all in black, and no one will know I did something that looked bad.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah,
That's awesome.
So speaking of
Gross monsters.
gross monsters, sort of the uncanny valley, maybe. We watched
Mark Wahlberg.
We watched a movie, and it didn't feature
no.
Mark Wahlberg.
You said the first Planet of the Apes. I watched the 2001.
That's not the
They
first
have the new ones that came out, and then the old one that came out in 2001.
I'm going to blow your mind here, Phil. One came out in 1968.
Yeah, I know. That's the one I watched.
Okay, good.
I've seen the 2001 one, but
I have too, but it's been a long time. Okay, so we watched Planet of the Apes. So it's a 1968 American science fiction film directed by Franklin J. Schaefer. It's from a screenplay by Michael Wilson and Rod Serling, and it's loosely based on a 1963 novel by Pierre Boulet, maybe. It's starring Charlton Heston, Roddy McDowell, Maurice Evans, Kim Hunter, James Daly, James Whitmore, and Linda Harrison. It's 112 minutes long. Is that right? Yep. So it had a budget of $5.8 million. It made $33.3 million. So good for them. The IMDb logline is an astronaut crew crash lands on a planet where highly intelligent non-human ape species are dominant and humans are enslaved. How do you guys think this movie did on Rotten Tomatoes?
I feel like it's hard to say with old sci-fi.
Yeah. Well, how do you think it's sitting on Rotten Tomatoes is a better way to put this question.
I want to say like 87%.
Yeah.
What do you think, Phil?
89.
Craig has it with 86.
Yeah.
And
I should've gone
lower.
Phil, you're closer to the audience score, 88. Wait, no, you tied the audience score.
We tied audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I picked this movie. Why did I pick this movie? That
Because
is
you
a great
love Mark
question.
Wahlberg.
Yes, because I'm a big fan of Mark Wahlberg and the burgers him and his brothers make. He's got a restaurant, Mark Wahlburger, right?
Yeah, Wahlburgers.
Wahlburgers.
It's not called Mark Wahlberg.
Whatever.
You never know.
Honey, I'm going down to Mark Wahlburger. Do you want me to get you anything?
Are you trying to say Mark Wahlberg? You know Mark? What are you trying to say? So I picked this
We
movie.
have a Mark Wahlshake.
So I picked this movie because it is sort of like science fiction royalty. Do you know what I mean? Like it is on, it's possibly on the Mount Rushmore of science fiction movies. At least the Mount Rushmore. That makes sense. And also, I wanted to see the ape masks in real life because I had heard people talk about how they still basically hold up and they still look pretty good. And yeah, it's just like one of those movies that I had, everyone knows the ending to. Everyone has seen lampooned 1,000 times. Everyone has seen not necessarily made fun of, but like parodied in this and that. And so like sometimes it helps to like watch that so you can like kind of get those jokes better even, So yeah, I watched this with Craig. I have an idea kind of how Craig felt about it. Phil, how did you feel about this?
It's it's one of those ones where we go through this a lot, especially with older movies where like it is one we've seen parodied a bunch. We've seen ones that have been influenced by it. I've seen clips of this a bunch. I've seen the ending a million times. I've seen the actual ending like a bunch of times on like list things on YouTube and stuff.
Mojo.
So watching it, it was just kind of it felt like it was just kind of happening. And I felt like I couldn't, like, I totally respect it for what it is, and I get why it is on the Mount Rushmore of science fiction movies, but I just felt like I couldn't quite connect with it for the most part.
Interesting.
I am of two minds.
Yeah.
Like there is a part of me that recognizes that like I think if there is an objective audience, it's good.
Right.
But Phil watching it was like, yeah, I don't know, it's a little bit long.
Not quite 2 hours. Craig, I watched this with you. We kind of chatted, but for the listener audience, how did you feel about this movie?
Well, I'm kind of the same mind as Phil, where it's been spoiled for so long that really the most surprising part was that I didn't know that he was mute for any part of the movie. But I still was able to point out most of the story beats as they were about to happen, even if I've never seen it before. And like the direction of it, the cinematography, the makeup on it, they were all like, I understand why this is a classic.
Yeah.
The set pieces, some of the most famous lines in movie history, one of the most craziest endings to a movie ever.
I just love Charleston Heston, just like he says, "God damn you, you damn dirty apes," and you're like, oh, he said it. That's the line.
He said the thing.
He said the
line. Every 10 minutes after that, he's like, "God damn you, you other guy. God damn you, you person over there. God damn this.
It's a madhouse.
This is a mad." And you're like, oh, that line doesn't sound as cool anymore.
This is just Charlton Heston.
I know.
It's just Charlton Heston. But to me, I liked all the other characters more than Charlton Heston. I feel like he was very
Absolutely.
distracting.
He was so distracting. Yeah, Craig and I, hands down, were like, so Cornelius is the best character in this, right? Like, he's just the most fun to
Yeah,
watch,
Roddy
the best
McDowell.
actor. Like, yeah, the most interesting. Yeah. 100%. The chimps were the best.
So in general, I liked it, but with reservation. And again, this is a movie from the late 60s. I thought this is from the 70s just because all the other ones came out in the 70s. But yeah, Charlton Heston, like, he's a real scenery chewer in this. He's just not likable.
He sticks out
At
so
all?
badly this whole movie.
Yeah.
He's
The way he talks to everyone is very strange, and then we'll have to get into this.
Okay.
We don't have to get into it now, but the whole, I forget what is it Nova?
Yeah.
Is
Nova.
yeah, the whole
oh, yeah.
Nova problem.
The Nova problem. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the rape problem, you mean? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and say I was surprised by this movie because I was not expecting to be at all surprised by this movie. Like,
Okay.
for the most part, I had seen the Mark Wahlberg one when I was a kid. I know, like, the story of the Planet of the Apes is broad strokes, and I'll do this, and we're going to spoil some. So, like, just so you know, we've taken the car out, and we've put the spoiler on the back so that we go faster and get the vroom vrooms. So we're
Yes.
in spoiler town. But broad strokes, this is about a crew of 4 astronauts going somewhere that I never got where they were trying to go.
I don't think they were going anywhere. I think they were doing a loop at light speed or near light speed.
I don't think they weren't planning on going back to Earth though.
I think they were planning because I think they were supposed to be coming back to Earth 700 years later.
No, that's not what I thought. It sounded like no, because that's the whole twist.
No,
Never
the twist
mind.
is that they came back 2,000 years later.
Well, but he already knew that at the very beginning.
But he didn't know it was.
He didn't know it was Earth. The whole time he didn't know it was Earth. Did
Well,
we
yeah, he
watch the
didn't-
same movie? No. So, anyways, well, regardless of where they were trying to go, what happens is something goes wrong. So they're astronauts. They go into hypersleep or whatever, suspended animation. And while they're in suspended animation, something goes wrong and they crash land. Their female dies.
Their Eve.
Their Eve, which is one of the grossest things, doesn't make it. So it's these 3 men on this planet that they don't know, that doesn't have any life on it, seemingly. Essentially, they discover that, oh, no, there is life. There are humans, but they're like primitive humans being held captive, enslaved by giant ape people. Not giant ape people, but like evolved ape humans, right? And so Charlton Heston's character, Taylor, is rounded up. And so the parts that I didn't realize was like how much of this movie would feel like Star Trek. You know, I expected a lot more of like sort of action or just like, you know, your traditional sort of like sort of fantasy flair, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like I sometimes have a hard time realizing that Star Wars isn't the norm for science fiction. Like my brain sometimes gets that confused because Star Wars at its core is a fantasy. It's
Yeah.
not science fiction. So I was like, oh yeah, right. And this wasn't even like Buck Rogers or something like that, where it's just like a lot of blasting. And I was expecting something like that. You know what I mean? And this was a lot more of like apes all going like, where do you know the creeds of our town? It's like, well, objection. He can't be on trial because he is a man, and this is an ape trial. Well, what is a man if not an ape? You know, it was like a lot of this like philosophical. It was a movie that very quickly became like about like, what business does the church have dictating how scientific research goes? And it was just like, I was like, whoa, this movie has like way more to say than I ever expected it to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Screenplay co-written by Rod Serling.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Because basically what happens is he gets captured. He's lost his ability to speak. So they think he's a normal human. And in this world, humans are basically the roles of human and apes have swapped. So he is essentially saved by a zoologist, chimp. What was her name? Zira? Something like that?
Yeah, Dr. Zira.
Yeah, Dr. Zira. Who is like Bright Eyes, who she calls Charleston Heston's character, like he's something else, and because he can speak. And yeah, what unfolds after that is like this whole conspiracy theory with like Dr. Zaius, who is this orangutan who's in charge of all the religion and science, which at one point Charleston Heston's character, Taylor, is like, that's counterintuitive. You can't have those two things, as he's like waving an American flag behind him and holding up the Constitution. Like Charleston Heston's character just kept saying things like, it's like you guys don't even understand the First Amendment. And it's like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like when he like shaves his beard and they're like, why would you do that? And he's like, in my day, only young people had beards. And it's just like, okay, man, but like you understand you're on a planet full of monkeys, so like maybe you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This seems like a weird time to be doing that, friend.
This is not worth this. But yeah, and so eventually it's revealed that the humans at one point were the superior species, like our Earth, and something happened, and then apes became the superior species. And what you find out, which everyone already knows, because everyone already knows the ending to this movie, which is that he didn't land on a foreign planet. He landed on our planet, and the humans all nuked themselves into oblivion, and the apes rose up from the ashes, essentially, after that, right? That's like basically broad strokes of this movie.
Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting so much of it to be about like sort of like the policies of like what to do when you're it reminded me a little bit of like Final Fantasy X, which again, this reference is for nobody, but in Final Fantasy X, like there is this like a church in that, and the church is hiding these horrible secrets, and in order to hide like, because they know the truth, and the truth is that their religion is bullshit, but they're keeping the lie going to protect the masses, you know what I mean? And so there's a lot of that going on in this, which I wasn't expecting. I was expecting a lot more of just like, you apes,
laser.
Yeah. So Phil, what were your thoughts on Charleston Heston's character?
Okay. Oh God, where to begin? So I did write the words, "This guy is a fucking creep." But we did kind of talk about that a little bit. We can get into it. He's terrible at escaping.
Yes, perhaps.
He is very relaxed when they first land on the planet, and he's talking about everything they know being dust, and everyone they know and everyone they ever loved being dead. He's incredibly relaxed about that. And then he spends the rest of the movie getting less and less relaxed. And more agitated and crazy.
So
he's like nihilistic at the beginning and cruel to his other crew members.
Yes.
Like laughing the weirdest laugh when the guy puts the American flag down, which would make more sense if he knew they were on Earth the whole time, that he would laugh like that.
Yeah.
It's like cruel irony.
Well, I think he was just doing that because I think the guy put that down to honor the woman who died. I don't know. That was...
I couldn't tell what it was.
That would make sense.
To sum up all of these thoughts, Taylor, Charleston Heston's character, is the worst person ever.
Yes.
He is the worst human to survive humanity.
He
is the worst emissary of humanity to be sent forward in time.
He says he's the worst person. And the other thing that's interesting is he seems to hate humanity. That seems to be why he went on this trip, is because he was like, I was bored with humanity. I didn't like any of the women there either because they talked back and I had to answer their questions about the things I did and the things I said. And that made me uncomfortable. And I like you, Nova, because Nova, you don't talk back and you don't understand a word I'm saying. So it's like, yeah, you're the worst person ever. And it is funny watching this movie because you have these chimps who are essentially like these philosophers, and they're having these like really intelligent conversations. And Cornelius is just like, I've got the horses and the weapons. And Charleston Heston's like, have you got a gun? What's the biggest one you have? Give it to me. And he's like, you can't have a gun. And he's like, I'll take the gun. He's like, you're not in charge. And he's like, oh yeah. And it's just like, God, you suck so much. And then he like shaves his beard and like slicks his hair back, so he just like doesn't even fit in the aesthetic of the movie at all anymore.
Yeah. He sucks.
Yeah, he totally sucks.
He overall just sucks.
And here's why I think the movie is maybe a perfect movie, even with all your complaints, is because of Charleston Heston's character and how much he sucks. Because he hates humanity so much, he's the perfect example of humanity. Like, the thing that I like the most about the ending of this movie is that Dr. Zaius, the whole time, you're like, this is a religious dude who is trying to protect his power. You know what I mean? You're like, he's trying to protect his place in the world, right? That's what you're kind of assuming the whole time. He's here because he doesn't want people to know the truth that humans are capable of being intelligent, because that would mean that it would prove him wrong, and he can't be wrong because then he'd lose all of his power. But what you come to understand is that he knows this, and what he also knows is that in the past, humans destroyed the world. So he's not trying to keep humans down because he wants to keep his position. He's trying to keep humans down because he knows what they're capable of, because he doesn't want them to blow up the world again. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it's like it's a slightly different in the sense that it's not like just him. I mean, sure, part of it is probably that he's selfish and trying to keep his position, but and like, you sort of like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense that like you would want to keep humans from having that power because they did it once before, And Charleston Heston's character eats the most amount of shit ever at the end of this movie, because the whole movie he's brash rather, and he is saying he's just talking about how much better he is than all of these apes the whole time. Mm-hmm. He's the biggest asshole. Yeah. Like they're like Cornelius is like, will you shut your mouth and wear the goddamn rags? We're trying to escape incognito. And he's like, I won't wear these. Where I come from, only the poors wear these, or whatever he says. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, he sucks. And I feel like in a lot of ways, this movie has this point where I'm looking at Charleston Heston, and the way, even when he talks about Nova, he's awful to Nova because he hates all women. So there was this one point where I was like, God, I really hate the painting, the picture this movie is painting. And then I'm like, oh shit, that's a mirror.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I just found myself really liking how much he sucked, because he was humanity. He was supposed to be like the perfection of humanity at its finest in this weird way, or at least that's what he thought of himself. Mm-hmm. And his own ego, in the end, proved him. It just worked. It worked. Even when and his heroic moments, to me, like, I feel like there are people who watch this movie who would go like, yeah, he's being a hero. And I'm like, yeah, you're part of the joke though. Do you know what I mean? Like you're part of, I don't know. So I just, the more I thought about this movie, the more I was like, I actually like really like this movie. And it's crazy that it is as old as it is. I knew all of all of the twists and turns, and I still walked away with it kind of going like scratching my head and feeling like it was, I don't know. I felt like it worked really well.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I definitely like, I 100% agree with everything you're saying. And you're totally right. Everything you're saying is right.
Okay, keep going.
Where's the big butt?
Below my back. Hey, I got a big butt. Is that cool?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But you didn't like them. You didn't like it as much because
So it's not that I didn't like it. It's just that I think it just like all of that was already there when I was watching it. I was just like, I don't know. I just didn't connect. Didn't connect. Like I saw all those things, and I love Rod Serling. I'm a big Twilight Zone head. And this has his fingerprints all over it. And I love your reading on it. But there's, and I still, I do think this is like perfect 5 out of 5 territory. I feel so weird and conflicted about it because it's like, I didn't really love it, but I think it's perfect 5 out of 5.
Oh, weird.
Like, yeah, it's like
5 out of 5 this, Phil, it means that you agree with Nova being subjugated.
No, I agree with Will's take on it.
I don't agree with it, which is why it works. Because he sucks.
Charlton Heston's
he's supposed to suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's supposed to be us. He's supposed to be the bad guy.
Or rather
also, Dr. Zaius is also a bad guy.
What's that?
For sure.
Oh, he's
Dr.
definitely
Zaius is also a bad guy.
But he's a good he's a fun kind of villain because he's one of those villains where you kind of go like, I can see
I
where he's
understand
coming
what you're
from.
doing.
I understand what you're doing. I wouldn't necessarily have done it this way, but also at the same time, you're like, would I have done it this way? You know what I mean? Like, because I don't know. Maybe I'm just a morally conflicted person every single day of my life, and I'm always having to be taught what wrong and right is because nothing in my brain works correctly. So I fall for the villain characters all the time in movies. Who knows? But
yeah, could be that.
Could be that. Who knows?
Could be that. You never know.
But I don't know. I just so I don't think necessarily that I may be saying like you're not supposed to like Taylor is that's probably wrong. I don't know if that's actually the intent of the filmmaker, but when I watched it, I didn't like him, and because I didn't like him, it made me like what was happening more because when he had that moment at the end, I'm like, okay, I feel validated in my dislike for him. I didn't like him. And he got proven so wrong, and he ate so much shit at the end. You know what I mean? Just by being so wrong and thinking he was above all of this, when in reality, he was exactly a part of it. It's his world. This is like the whole time he is going like, this is not my problem. I'm so above this. You know what I mean? But in reality, he was a part of it. Made it work for me, and I went like, yeah. I don't like the way he treats Nova at all. But that's okay because I don't like his character at all,
Yeah. We don't like the way women are treated in modern society.
And to be fair, like
it works.
Yeah, the Dr. Zira treated the humans, Nova, like we would treat chimpanzees in the zoo. You know what I mean? Like just saying like, here's a mate for you. Hope you have fun. Like I don't know if necessarily. I don't think any zoologists are really like that. Actually, now that I think on it, but
Probably not.
still,
but
the commentary I think
maybe
is
in
still there.
1968.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that's the issue, though, is that like this felt very much like if this wasn't Charlton Heston, it would be like a John Wayne type. Where I think the film in 1968, most of the audience would be like, well, yeah, of course he's gonna take this girl. And do whatever he wants with her because that's his God-given right.
Yeah. I mean that to me is the 12-year-old boy fantasy. You know what I mean? To be that we have been telling boys up until recently, like, you know, like it's like the weird science. You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't it be cool if we like made a woman that we could all that had boobs that we could touch? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that was just an easy way to get 12-year-olds to pay for a ticket. You know, and so there is sort of that exploitation in this film that, yeah, I mean, you can't avoid. And I'm probably doing more work for this movie than I need to, or that maybe it deserves. I don't know, but I just like had this different sort of like, oh, I feel like this movie is more. It is sort of like the whole art thing is like at a certain point, the artist's intent is irrelevant. It only matters how you react to it, you know?
Yeah.
Which can go both ways because I can watch this movie now in 2024 and watch it and go like, wow, this is such a good takedown of American culture, you know, and American ideology, and think it's an interesting film. And then somebody in 1968 can watch this and go like, wow, I really want my own fuck toy.
Yeah. I think that's what makes this timeless, though, is not that last part, but is that you can, we're watching it today, and that whole trial scene felt very real and scary. Felt very much like oh God, I'm forgetting, like the Red Scare situation.
Yeah.
And that was the other writer. He had been through MacArthur. He had been blacklisted.
Yeah,
so
I mean, like
that makes sense.
That is such a modern prevailing nightmare that even I have. It's the reason why every time I see a cop, I'm like, oh no, they're here for me. And I'm like, wait, I haven't done anything. What?
Yeah.
Why? What did I do? You know what I mean? That just the idea of being like falsely accused of anything is.
Oh yeah. Because
absolutely.
we've seen so many things. It's like, oh, it's very easy. All someone has to do is accuse you.
Yeah, right.
And they don't have to prove it. You have to.
Yes, because the public opinion is so much. And then so much. Our whole court system doesn't matter. But where I was. Oh, I was at Kroger today. I walked into Kroger to like very quickly buy. Okay, guys, I've upgraded to Pepto-Bismol Extra Strength. Like that's where I'm at these days. Anyways, because I was having the worst acid reflux of my life today.
Oh, man.
It was
I'm so
fun.
sorry.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, there were two cops walking in, and I was just like, oh no. They know. And then I like stopped and I was like, what do they know? They know. And then I was like, they know that I intend to also buy some vodka for this weekend. And I'm like, I'm allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Like I'm a grown man. But like it was still like that fear of being caught. Anyways.
So can I talk about like some of the behind the scenes stuff?
Absolutely.
I wish you would.
Okay. So the whole process of putting on the outfits, the makeup and the costumes for all the people playing apes and gorillas and orangutans was so laborious that they decided to not take them off.
Ooh.
Once they put them on, they were stuck with them the whole day. You couldn't eat, so they liquefied all their food.
Oh,
that
And
nasty.
sounds so
had to-
gross.
So trying to smoke, drink, any of that stuff was very hard. So they had to give them like those, cigarette
Yeah.
holder things.
The Corella
and-
DeVilles.
Yep, exactly. But the makeup guy came up with it was John Chambers, and they actually made an honorary Oscar for him because it was such a big deal.
I have to say, like, I thought it held. There were clearly ones that were like of higher quality than others, but the chimps, like, okay, what was his name? Was it Roddy? Who played Cornelius?
Roddy Piper.
Roddy
Roddy McDowell.
So Roddy McDowell understood the assignment like better than anybody else. The way he used the chimp face and like did like little sniffs and stuff was just incredible. Like, and even the Kim Hunter, I believe, who played Kim Hunter. Who was like every once in a while she would make an expression. I was like, oh my gosh, that looks so crazy good. And then other times someone would be speaking and I'd see their second set of teeth and you'd be like, wah!
So I mean they studied both of those actors studied apes for a really long time just to get, and so they would ad-lib those kind of things. They would try to put that into their performance to make it more believable.
That's cool.
And so that Chambers guy who did the makeup, he also did for a Star Trek connection. He also was the one who made Spock's ears for the original TV show. So got that connection there. But did you know?
Wait, you mean Leonard Nimoy's ears aren't just like that?
Nope, apparently not.
Have you guys
Who
ever
knew?
heard Leonard Nimoy's Bilbo Baggins song?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely worth.
They didn't have a best makeup Oscar until 1981.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
And so that was like the second time they had given someone an honorary Oscar for makeup effects. Was for this guy. So that part's really cool. They filmed this in the middle of summer, and I think it was Arizona. And so all the other ape films they did in the middle of winter because they were a lot smarter.
Yeah.
But
I'm
apparently
surprised
it was
nobody
just
died.
torture. Yeah, it was just torture. And even for Charlton Heston, he said that, I mean, he's just getting knocked around and he's shirtless most of the time. So he's just like, fake rocks still hurt when you fall on them.
Yeah, he was definitely in some scenes looking a little sunburnt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little toasted. Oh, man.
But something crazy I was reading was just 1968 was a big year for just, the 60s. You had a lot of musicals.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, just a couple. You definitely had a style in the 60s that wasn't quite into the auteur level of the 70s yet, but 68, the same day this came out, you have 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like, just imagine if you're a sci-fi fan.
Wow.
The same day you get Planet of the Apes and 2001, and then later that year you have Rosemary's Baby, and then you also have Night of the Living Dead. So it's very jarring movies, kind of shaking things up. So just a interesting year for cinema, and I think that it's easy to underestimate the impact this movie had. You had a black actor in the main cast, which was unusual at the time. To him be, if it wasn't like supposed to be the main character, and that was the point of the movie, it was just unusual for be part of the main cast like that. So sure, they killed him off in the first 20 minutes, but
yeah, they did.
To be fair, there are maybe 5 humans in the movie who have names. So
that's true. But yeah, that I love the way the all the zoom ins
Yeah.
where it's just a still frame, so it gets really blurry at the end of it. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of those old 60s effects that were just, they didn't age well, but they were
Yeah.
still just.
Well, there is
You
something.
have the
There's something about like movies that become so old, the effects like still look good because everything kind of looks the same level of bad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like not bad, but like it's like all got the same sort of like film stock.
It's all weathered the same.
It's all weathered the same. That's a great way to put it. And so like it all, even though like that Statue of Liberty looked pretty cheesy, it would still like. It still worked, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like that.
The weird screeching sound when they revealed the lady astronaut turned into an old woman.
I did not like that.
I'm like, yeah, that's I remember this from other movies of this era. Just
I
what
did
they
not
did.
like that sound.
Yeah.
I also was sad that she died.
Yeah, it was pretty gross. Her whole, like, Charlton Heston's character later was like, she was supposed to be our Eve, which made me, I started to wonder, like, considering how the other crew members, like, kind of found disdain for his character, I was like, was that what she was there for, or just his idea of what she was there for?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think that was just his idea.
Yeah, right. Because, like, the other two guys were, like, very clearly, like, one was, so the oh man, I don't remember their names.
Landon.
Was he the guy who got lobotomized?
Yeah.
Yes.
So like, yeah, Landon was like, we learned that the reason why he's there is because like he's like sort of like a Kennedy or something like that. You know, somebody who like wants to be a hero and like does it for the glory, sort of like president of the football team kind of guy. And then the other guy, the black guy whose name was Dodge, is there because he's just like a straight up scientist. That's why he was always like way ahead of the two of them, because he was just clearly just like, he was so goal oriented and just like, you know what I mean? I thought that was neat that he was always like way ahead trying to figure out where they were going. And Taylor's whole thing was like, they were like, Landon was like, why are you here? Like, what is your, and it was like, he was just like, because I hate humanity and no one else would do it. It's just like, okay. Jeez.
Dark. Fair enough.
Secretly, because everyone hates me.
Yeah.
So Will was hating me because the whole first 20 minutes I'm just, well, what about this? Why wouldn't they know it's Earth if they didn't see this? And what about that? And he's just like, God damn it.
Well, I just kept going like, well, specifically that one moment you were like, wouldn't they know by the stars? And I was like, yeah, they would, possibly. And then it was like, but it hasn't been night yet. So, like, let's, like, wait until night falls and then maybe ask why they don't know. And then night fell and they were like, it's overcast. We haven't been able to see it. It's been overcast every night. I was like, see, I told you there'd be a reason.
They said there's no moon. And if there's no moon...
They also said there was no moon.
I mean, how would that... Because I know, like, the oceans would get messed up, but, like, what else would happen if the moon was gone?
Time machine, man.
I know, but I'm assuming that the Earth would be a little bit out of whack in terms of rotation, too.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why
it would probably make seasons harsher, possibly. I don't know. So,
yeah.
We should blow up the moon to find out.
Yeah, we should.
It's the only rational idea.
Yeah. Phil, if you were to give this movie a rating, what would you give this?
I don't know.
Do you want somebody to go first? So
yeah, I need somebody to go first, and then I'll bounce off of yours.
Okay, Craig, what do you think?
Oh gosh, I don't have anything clever to say. Will, you did enough convincing that, and there's so much of it that I did legitimate love, and it's hard to put this movie into context if I watched this in 1968 when it came out, how monumentally different it was than anything else that had been coming out. So I want to take that, and also everyone who made this appeared to have suffered. So,
and they're definitely listening. So
yeah, I know, right? So I think I'm gonna do 5 out of 5, and 5 out of 5. Apes who have mastered manufacturing pens and papers, but have never tried making a paper airplane
before. That was
they've never accidentally dropped a piece of paper and seen that it kind of floats a little bit.
It has lift,
and then thought, "Oh, I wonder if I could do that on purpose."
Yeah, that was pretty stupid.
Or like birds.
Yeah. Who knows? That was actually something.
Maybe there aren't birds.
Were there birds? Did we see birds?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
That was the one thing I was curious about, because there didn't seem to be very many.
Oh, there's no moon. Birds need the moon.
You're right. Birds do need the moon. That's where they recharge their batteries. Phil, do you have one now, or would you like me to go?
Yeah, I think it has to be 5 out of 5. The first alien plant ever discovered. Let's immediately dig it up and let it die.
Yep.
Dude, that is the most science thing I've ever seen. That's exactly what scientists do. They're like, wow, this is so special. Let's destroy it and see how it works.
I was so mad. They don't even
eat it.
They don't even eat it and try and see if it's edible.
Yeah.
They just pick it up.
Yep. All right, so everyone, if you guys are giving that, then I absolutely have to, because I was the only one who had
I was
anything.
waiting for you to be like, yeah, 3.5 out of 5.
I think it's a movie that you should see.
I actually,
Yeah.
I liked watching it. I was frequently sort of surprised by it. And as I was driving home, I kept replaying the ending over and over again, and I'm like, I can't believe this ending that I knew what the ending was worked so well for me, even though I already knew what the ending was. And I am definitely
ending.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to give this movie 5 monkey judges doing see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil out of 5, which was just one of at least 2 incredibly dumb monkey puns, which was like, human see, human do, said at another point.
Okay, so one other thing I wanted to mention that I almost forgot, because Will and I were trying to remember the ending of the 2001 movie, and I was reading about the book version of this, and the book ends with him getting on, so he's actually on a different planet, and that's the same for the 2001 movie. He's on a different planet. He gets in a spaceship and he leaves. He goes back to Earth, and it turns out that Earth has had the exact same trajectory as this planet, and so that's why there's apes. There's Abe Lincoln,
which is the most, the idea that history repeated itself in such an exactly specific way that there was
very
an
specific.
Abe Lincoln is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
Yeah,
the
exact opposite.
Yeah, but
of a great ending.
But I also heard that the original ending is that the planet of the apes is not Earth, and he goes back to Earth, and enough time has passed that Earth has become the planet of the apes. And there is something also that occurs with the sequels, I believe, where it does sort of that, where it I don't know. This
that's weird.
Yeah, because that's what. There's a second timeline to Planet of the Apes in the other movie, and there's its sequels, and that when they did the remake with Andy Serkis and James Franco, I don't know if you guys ever saw that first one. That's what the remake is. It's of their sort of redone timeline, because Caesar is a character, is the Andy Serkis character in James Franco Planet of the Apes, but he's a big player in the other Planet of the Apes, but not this one, because it's a different. It's so confusing.
Huh.
I tried to parse
that's
it out
weird.
by reading Wikipedia, and I just got more confused. So
Yeah.
I think
Sounds like we're gonna have to watch them all.
we might have to watch them all. I think that's what we're hearing. Speaking of watching another movie, I do believe it is Craigerton's turn to pick a movie.
Oh no!
Oh, you didn't pick one, which means we have to watch the next Planet of the Apes.
Are we going to watch
Oh god!
Fall of the Planet of the Apes?
Or Below the Planet of the Apes?
Below the Planet of the Apes? Could be.
Okay, so I am choosing for our next movie, Suspiria.
Huh?
Okay.
Suspiria.
Is this
which is-
spooky?
Yes, it is Dario Argento. It's a giallo Italian film.
Okay.
Giallo was popularized by Argento and Mario Bava and others. Very specific Italian style horror movie. Very bright colors. And it's about a girl who goes to a dance school in, I believe, Germany, and ends up being full of witches.
Am I going to like this movie, or is it a movie that you're going to like watching me watch?
I can't tell, honestly, because it is such an interesting and like all of Argento's movies are just so odd and interesting. So I'm picking this because I love the movie myself, but I also want to see what you guys think. I want to be a more of a curveball thrower.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into that.
I came into this and I wanted to say I'm in the mood to watch something spooky, but I was like, no, don't push your agenda on someone else. And then now you're picking something spooky, and I'm so excited.
Thank you for liking and subscribing to the podcast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. If you want to tell us which ape you were most attracted to,
There we go.
Yes, that's it. Please tell us. Please,
Also-
dear God, tell us.
ape kissing.
The ape kissing.
Yeah,
Oh, it's just like them just smacking their heads together.
yeah.
So this episode, try again. This episode was brought to you by Jack Kessel. Wonder who that is.
My wife.
Okay. If you're interested in hearing your name shouted out and want to help support us, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/mumbleandtruck.
If you like what you heard, consider leaving a review, a comment, smash that like button, send us a letter in the mail with a fan art of us. I would love that particularly. That would be wonderful. Draw us. Draw me. Paint me like one of your French girls.
Sure.
That's all for this episode. I'm Phil Kessel.
I'm Will Chodas.
And I'm Craig Norland.
I was going to do an ape thing, and then I chickened out. Don't watch movies unless we tell you to.
This is a madhouse. A madhouse.
Brought to you by Mumble and Shrug Productions.